This is Renee Romeo. Today I'm bringing you a recipe called Spiced Chocolate Eggnog Cake. Perfect for the holidays, and it's a really simple recipe, and you don't need a mixer at all. You can do everything in one large bowl, so that's great for those of you that don't have hand mixers or stand mixers. So what we're going to start out with is equal parts of flour and sugar. So you can put those directly into the bowl, and we're doing all of the dry ingredients, and when all the dry ingredients are in the bowl, we're just going to mix it up with a whisk, a hand whisk, and get that all incorporated. And that's what it looks like when it's all mixed together. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and make a well in the center so that I can add all of the wet ingredients directly in the middle. It'll make it a lot easier to mix all of this together nice and evenly. So at this point, I could start mixing. And when I mix, I'm going to do it from the center and work my way out to the edges of the bowl. And what that'll do is it will slowly mix in the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. You can already smell the eggnog because of that boiling water. The cake batter is perfectly mixed together, and this is a very liquidy cake batter. Now what I'm doing here is I've got two 8-inch round cake pans, and I have them sprayed with a great product called Baker's Joy. It's got the flour and the shortening kind of mixed in together, so it gives you a really great surface. Ordinarily, if this were a butter cake, I would go ahead and line this with parchment because I think butter cakes stick a little bit more to the bottom of the pan than a non-butter cake, which this is. So I've just gone ahead and sprayed it, and you can do the same thing. My oven is set to 350, and at this point I'm going to take a digital scale, and I'm going to do this to measure out the product, because if you don't do that, your cakes will wind up two different sizes, and that's not what you want. And we want a nice level even cake that's going to be the same across all the layers. Now they measure out to be identical, so this is exactly what you want. And these cake pans are filled about halfway full, which is exactly what you want. It's going to rise to the top of the edges, and then we can cut off the top of the cake and make it nice and level when it's done. And what I'm going to do now is take them off of the rack, run a butter knife around the edge, grab the rack, put it upside down, and then flip the cake over and gently coax this out of the pan. And it turned out perfect. Well, the cake is cooled, and so at this point what I'd like to do is make this into a 4-layer cake. The way you do this is you get this tool, it's for leveling a cake, and it cuts through it as well. So it takes care of two things in one. You may need a serrated knife just to get this started. Some cakes are a little spongier than others and won't cooperate quite as well when you first get going. And then you're just going to flip this over and put the finished side of the cake down. Now I have mine set on the 4th level up from the top, and I'm just going to double check it. It's going to cut it directly in half. And so basically the way this works, you're just going to move this little tool back and forth, and it's going to cut through the cake nice and evenly via a little tiny little cable that's on there at the bottom. So you're just going to hold that in place. Nice clean hands. And then I can flip this and show you, put it on a piece of plastic wrap. Now the plastic wrap is what I'm going to wrap it in for freezing purposes. I always freeze my cakes before I frost them because it makes it so much easier to frost. So now I have this wrapped in plastic wrap. I have 2 others that I had done earlier, and then I'll go ahead and do the same process here. So I'm going to put the rounded side up, flat side down. Now this is the one where it probably is a good idea to have a serrated knife. So you're just going to take the serrated knife and you're going to lay it right on top of that little cable, and you're just going to cut into it, give it a little groove to get it going, because sometimes it's hard to get through this cakey layer. All right, and there we have it. So that I'll take the knife, I'll peel off the top, and the great thing about this is you get a chance to sample the cake before you even put the cake together. So if something went wrong with your recipe, this is the thing that you do to make sure that you don't have to actually bake another cake all over again. Now the cake is frozen, and I'm just going to go ahead and unwrap each and every layer, and I've made up a batch of eggnog buttercream. What I've done is I've whipped it really, really light and fluffy, so that took about 8 to 10 minutes on the stand mixer. And in between each and every layer, we're just going to put a nice healthy layer of eggnog buttercream. So the last layer is ready to go on. And at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a tiny little bit of this buttercream and just try to fill in the edges here just a little bit so that we prep for the buttercream frosting. So the rest of the frosting is going to go pretty fast. I have a mixture here of regular buttercream, and the only difference between this and normal buttercream is that I added a little bit of eggnog instead of milk in the finishing mix. So all I'm going to do at this point is go ahead and just lay some of this on here, onto the top and onto the sides. And then I'll take an offset spatula Now you don't need this as a very thick coating because I'm going to go back in and take care of the top and the sides separately so that I can put my decorations on. And this is what I wind up with. It's completely imperfect. You don't have to get this like a glass finish because wait and see what I do with it. So over here I have some gingerbread cookies that I frosted a little bit earlier. You can get these from the store, but I just whipped up a batch and I'm going to attach mine to the cake. So all I'm going to do, I've got a 32 tip in my Wilton bag, and I'm just going to go ahead and make some mounds. And then I've got giant cookies that we're just going to set in like that. Make a few more mounds behind it. And take another cookie and set it in just like that. And then you're just going to keep going along until you have these areas filled in on the top with varying heights, which is really what you're looking for. You're basically trying to build a winter wonderland on the top of the cake. And now the great part about this is that your guests can eat the cookies before they eat the cake. They won't ruin the appearance of it even if they pull a couple off, but they could do that over the course of the evening. All right, and then on the sides, we're going to take care of all of these little areas here, again with the same bag. And let's try out a large cookie. All right, and all we have to do is just fill in this little area up here. All right, and now for the best part, because you're going to make snow, and you're going to fill in all these areas between the cookies that look a little bit barren. Okay, and before it's done, we're just going to go ahead and decorate it a little bit with some nutmeg because it is an eggnog cake. You always have nutmeg with eggnog. All right, so there you have it, a very quick way to decorate a holiday cake so that your party is stress-free. It didn't take very long, and I hope you enjoyed watching this. This is Renee Romeo. Until next time, I'll bring you a great project.